Guys, welcome to the Sky Media Ventures podcast, episode 3, season 2, with our guest today. Guys, I'm so excited that we get to have on this guest. He has been a mentor of mine, a business leader, and a business colleague of mine who I've looked up to. This person was one of the few people who helped change my life forever, and his name and my cousin and mentor, Nicholas DeLorie. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you. So glad to be here. I may have given you some books, some information, but it's all you, my man.
Hey, dude. Well, the information that you gave and the life that you set and the example that's what really mattered. So we appreciate you giving us some of your time and being on the show and helping the viewers and the audience members develop or at least learn more information to help them possibly develop the skills to help them achieve the goals and the dreams and aspirations that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of my biggest passions is helping people achieve their goals and their dreams. You can't do anything for them except give them information, and they can decide to run with it or not run with it. And I do my best to make sure it's the right information, but that's up to the person to decipher through it and run with it.
Sure. And Nick, I want to take the audience back on a journey real quick. So when you and I, we obviously grew up together. We have the same family, cousins and stuff like that. However, there was a separation period. I went ahead and I lived in Las Vegas at a time, and I ended up getting some terrible results. I think during the same time you went to college, and then you had a couple jobs after college, and then after this separation, we ended up crossing paths again. Do you remember interacting with us again after that time of separation?
Yeah, I think the most iconic memory for myself when we kind of reconnected was it at Cocoa Beach, Myrtle? It's somewhere on the East Coast, some beach. We're at a beach restaurant, and we're just catching up on where you've been, what you've been doing, what I've been doing. And I think you bring this up often, but you're like, Nick, what have you been doing?
Yeah. So like I remember like some of our family, they were like, "Oh, Nick, that guy's just lucky. Like his name is not even Nick. His name is just Lucky." And I'm like, "Man, that's a fantastic name to get. I wish people called me Lucky." And I remember sitting with you at a seafood restaurant, and I said, "Nick, you have all these fantastic results." And I looked at you and I said, "Buddy, how can I mimic these same results, or what can I do in my life?" And I remember this, so I'll never forget it. Maybe I'll say this on stage for thousands of people, but you looked at me, Nick, and you said it was the slight edge. And then you gave me this little head nod, and then I looked at you back, and I'm like, dude, what the heck is this slight edge thing? What are we talking about here? So if there's an audience person listening right now, how would you explain the slight edge? Why did you give me that piece of advice? If you could just explain that a little bit.
Yeah, my college professor says to kiss everything, keep it simple, stupid. And honestly, that's how my brain operates. Like, I like things simple, easy to understand, follow the process. And everybody has a specific deadline and a goal of achieving that. The goal, like, you want to achieve something and you're trying to do it by end of the year. So it's always fantastic to have that specific timeline to hold yourself accountable to that goal. But as long as you keep things simple and keep doing things that are progressing yourself towards that goal, you're going to get there. It may happen sooner than you think. It may happen longer than you think. Nobody knows. Life is funny. There's twists and turns. You could be lucky, you could be not lucky. But over time, you're eventually going to hit those specific goals as long as you just keep following this same exact processes that will get you from point A to point B, whatever that is. That could be a physical goal, that could be a financial goal, et cetera, et cetera. So, slight edge, that's all it is.
Yeah, so
It wouldn't
the,
be,
the Slight Edge,
yeah,
like, explain a little bit more. If someone says, okay, I'm going to buy the book, The Slight Edge, I'm going to read it, I'm going to implement it. What kind of philosophy does The Slight Edge talk about?
yeah. So, slight edge, everything's going to happen little by little, and then over time turns into a lot. My favorite analogy is going to the gym. You can go to the gym for, 2 to 4 hours a day for 1 to 2 weeks. You might see some gain some results, but you're never going to see anything massive. The person who's going to have massive results is somebody who's going to the gym consistently, 5 days a week, an hour a day. And then over 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, then you're going to see some crazy results. Other people are probably even going to call them lucky. Once they see where they were and where they're at now, they're going to say, wow, he's just got good genetics. He doesn't have stress. He doesn't have kids. Doesn't have to worry about anything, so he has time to go to the gym.
Hmm.
But the truth is, and that's the whole power of the slight edge, is all you have to do is a little bit every single day, and that's how you get to your goals.
Sure, sure. It's like looking at a book. It could be 500 pages, and someone's like, "Well, dude, I don't have the experience reading 500-page books, usually." But it's like, hey, let's just break it down. Instead of reading, 250 pages in an afternoon, that might take you, 8 hours. Let's just break it down. 15 pages here, 15 pages the next day, 15 pages the next day, and then over time, you could accomplish a big task like reading a 500-page book, and then probably takes you a couple months. And we just have to remember to break down those big tasks into little bite-sized, everyday, simple habits compounded over time. That's what you're pretty much saying, huh, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's goals are different. Everybody's skill sets are different. So whatever their goals and skills are, everybody's going to hit those timelines at different paces in their lives. That's kind of the beautiful thing about life too, is you can chase after a specific dream, and it's totally up to you and how the deck of cards that life gave you on how fast you're going to get there. But you are in control of your destiny and everything that's going to happen to you. It's just a matter of when. And that's sometimes people say I'm like overconfident or maybe a tad touch of like cocky, and it has nothing to do with me thinking that my skill sets are better than everybody else. The only thing I know for a fact is I'm going to get there. It's just a matter of when. So when I know it's a matter of when, why would I doubt myself? Why would I care about, I didn't hit that specific milestone. I got a setback. I'm going in the right direction. It might be a little left, might be a little right, but I already know the end goal. It's just a matter of time.
Sure, sure, and that's why I love sales. And you and I are both in different sales jobs, sales positions, but we grew up doing different business ventures together. And I love that philosophy you have, because when you have the philosophy of you're just going to get better every single day over time, then sales is a perfect vehicle for you, because you're going to have those setbacks. But if you have your gyroscope pointed in the right direction, sales is probably one of the best industries you can get in. And I'm curious, Nick, you had a lot of great success in insurance when you were in your young 20s. How did you even get into like the sales industry, into like the sales background? What led you into that direction?
Yeah, so I would say there's a couple things that guided my life in that direction. First off, my dad was an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneur since 12, 13, 14 years old. So the closest thing to being an entrepreneur without owning your own company is sales. You control your own destiny, you come up with your own game plan, and your income is all in your hands, right? And then the other part is specific to insurance. The funny thing is, I hated insurance and I never wanted to do it. And I was like, I'll never be an insurance rep. I was going to be a financial advisor. And then I interviewed with Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Edward Jones, a few others. And I found out like most of what they do is actually insurance, which was really surprising to me at that time. So it kind of opened up my brain to think, what else is there outside of this financial advising goal that I was set on doing in college. And then a recruiter reached out to me for an insurance role. I was a broke college kid, literally $10 in my bank account. And they said they'd give me a $5,000 signing bonus, a company car. And I just watched Mad Men. Fantastic show. It's about this sales guy. He's an account manager for a marketing company. Highly recommend it.
Is it the
But
same show where it's taking place back in like the 50s or 60s or something
yeah,
like that?
yeah, with John Hamm.
Okay, cool, cool. I've seen a couple episodes, but Mad Men. So we'll
So good.
keep a lookout.
Yeah, so good. And his role was an account manager. So I thought all he's doing for work is going out with clients, taking them out to dinner, getting drinks, etc., wine and dining. I was like, I could do that for a job. That sounds cool. So this insurance job was for an account management for an insurance company with a niche market on the auto market and municipalities. So that's kind of how I ended up there.
Gotcha, gotcha. And
So nothing too profound actually, but just funny how life works.
did you experience any type of success working your first sales job in insurance?
Yeah, so I got hired and there was virtually no training. My corporate office was in Oklahoma. I lived in Orlando. My boss lived in St. Pete. I saw them once every 2, 3 weeks, maybe. My first 3 months, I didn't know like what the hell I was doing. I was just kind of logging onto my computer. My boss told me to do something. I did it. Uh, but I didn't really take control of making my sales and hitting my quota, right? And then we're approaching end of quarter, my first time, and my boss says, "Nick, you're way behind quota. What are you doing?" And in my head, I was thinking, "Well, I just did everything you told me to do." And then I realized at that moment, to be successful, it's up to me. It has nothing to do with your boss. It has nothing to do with your peers. So I pulled up my database, pulled up all my accounts, and attacked every single one of them and doubled, nearly tripled my quota and made rookie of the year.
Eh,
And
Let's
go.
go. That's awesome.
Yeah. So first 3 months were a little rough, and then I learned quickly if it's going to be, it's up to me, as people say, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious, was this an in-person type of sales role, or was this over the phone, selling over the phone?
In person. So I was an account manager for auto dealerships and municipalities, which is like local government branches. So, once a year you renew your medical, dental, vision, etc. So in this job, what I did is I would come in, do a presentation on here's your benefits for this new year. And then on top of that, what I sold were ancillary insurances like disability, life insurance, cancer, accident, etc. So I'd the part what I think what really made me successful is if I could brag and say I was successful, but I was rookie of the year and did pretty good. What made me successful is people who sold medical, dental, vision. I did their job for them. So I would tell them, hey, instead of you doing the presentation and doing all the sales for your other insurances, I'll sell your insurance. And then on top of it, I'll sell mine as well, if it makes sense for the client, customer, etc.
Wow, what a genius! I love that. Because now you're involving other parties, and it's a win-win-win for everybody involved. The customers get their insurance, and then all the sales reps they get their plans pushed. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So then what I would do from there is because I was doing the work of multiple people and selling myself on top of it, is it made it really easy for them to bring me into their other accounts. I was easy to work with, did the job of like multiple different people. So I just got out there and got it done.
Sure, sure. Nick, you and I have had the experience working sales in both in person and then over the phone via Zoom and stuff like that. What's the biggest difference that you've noticed? Because I know for me, I've noticed a couple things, and let's just talk about that a little. What comes to mind when meeting a client in person versus meeting them over Zoom, where they're 1,000 miles away?
Yeah, I would say as far as operationally, the like small talk is a bit less through Zoom. And that could also be at the same time as I progress my career, a lot of my calls are with more executive upper management type of roles. And they're constantly traveling, constantly all over the place. So when we jump on a call, it's a quick little intro and then,
It's all
they want to
business.
yeah, they want to know is the next 45 minutes worth my time? So you have to do a quick like make them like you in less than 5 minutes, and then also hook in their attention in the next 5 minutes. And then from there, you have to open up their world and do a little bit more discovery of, all right, so I gave you a quick introduction of who I am, what I do, why we should work together, but tell me about you because this product may or may not even be a good fit. And I won't know that until I learn a little bit more about your goals, your operations, and what's going on your side. So as far as selling in person and versus selling virtually, I think the best combo is to do a little bit of both. Like I just went to a conference in Colorado, and literally last week I went to Nashville to do a presentation in front of 15 other C-suite team. But before that, probably did 6 virtual meetings.
Wow. Wow. Gotcha. Yeah, Nick, selling to executives way, way, way different than selling insurance in your first venture. Would you say?
Yeah, for sure. In insurance, I had to sell to somewhat of an executive to get in the door, but the actual sales and volume was from B2C, like business customer.
Gotcha. And
Or
I want
not
to.
executive.
What was that?
I was saying not an executive, just like somebody working, at the company.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And Nick, I want to pivot for a second. We worked in an industry where this industry made me as tough as nails, I think, and I still learn from working in that industry. But when I was 21, I think maybe you were 24, 25, we worked in an industry for about 2 years called direct sales at maybe a couple companies, but really at one in particular. Um, how does direct sales impact one's mind into going forward into other business ventures after direct sales? And just so the audience knows, direct sales also similar to network marketing, MLM. I think Nick and I we were talking about this the other night, and we were saying it's a very it could be very lucrative. I think it's very tough for most people, but I think the people who learn the most from direct sales go into their next business ventures with already such a head start. Do you remember working in that direct sales company, Nick?
I remember it, and I think I'll remember it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah. So we were literally we literally were selling personal, professional, and financial literacy information, to our friends and family. And I remember them, our mentors, and telling us at that time, or the business executives, hey, make a list, call everybody and get this product push forward. And dude, we had the gumption to just go ahead and just make a whole list of our friends and family and just reach out to them and say, hey, we got this information. It could help your life. Would you like to buy, and would you like to join? And that was, I think, being in that industry, even though that I personally wasn't financially successful, it was like, wow, if I could do that, then every other sales job I get after that, it's going to be like a piece of cake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody knows to be in sales, you have to have, rhino skin, tough skin. And I don't think there's anything more embarrassing, tougher, push you outside of your comfort zone than calling your father-in-law, calling your mom, calling your cousin who you haven't talked to in 10 years, you know, or, anything along those lines. The moment you call and say, hey, I want to talk to you about something, the immediate response is, oh, pyramid scheme. So every single phone call, extremely uncomfortable. You're going to immediately get pushback, and you're getting pushback from somebody that you're going to have to see again.
Well, you're gonna know them forever. you know,
Yeah, yeah,
every
exactly.
family function and stuff like that. You know.
And so everybody is telling you you're not going to make it, that you're going to fail. And they're telling this right to your face. I feel like dark sales is one of the one things where people will tell you to your face that you're going to suck and that it's not going to work out. And then talk to you at Thanksgiving dinner, a couple months later.
Yeah, yeah. How's
So you have,
business? You know.
yeah, exactly. And they're hoping that you're saying, oh, it sucks, I quit. So you just have everybody that you know, love, and care about telling you you're not going to make it, and you're still picking up the phone, making that call, and coming to that next meeting with the same conviction you had on that first meeting before somebody told you you're not going to make it. So back to that slight edge principle. If you can pick up the phone, do that meeting, have that same conviction when you're on that call, talking about your product, talking about the benefits and the value that you provide, do that every single time, every single day, you're not going to close every deal. That's just never going to happen. But you're going to outperform everybody else, guaranteed 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. And then people are going to start calling you lucky.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dude, let's talk a little bit more about some of those, because we experienced some successes being in direct sales, but some of the failures were, they sucked at the time, but then when we look back on it, we're like, man, we were so brave to do that. And I know, for instance, and just for the viewers, we would have these weekly meetings, these seminar monthly meetings, And then every 3 months, we'd have these major function events. And I remember, Nick, there was a big major function in a state that was like 5, 6 states away. And we had to drive maybe 10, 12, 13 hours away. And I remember going with somebody. I remember going with this person, and you went with your own people. I went with one person I was going with in his car. So we were driving 13 hours in his car to go to this major function, collaborate with other independent business owners and stuff like that. Phenomenal times. I love major functions.
Mhm.
Basically, a whole stadium filled with 10,000 entrepreneurs, and they're all getting fired up, you know? So it's a great atmosphere. But I remember being at a major function with you, dude, and the person that I went with halfway through the trip, without telling me, decides to get in their car and, drive off without, giving me a word. And just thinking
Abandoned
like,
you.
yeah, just abandoned. And I was thinking at the time, I'm like, man, here at this major function event, we're talking about leadership, having a great mindset. What do you do when someone does that to you at that during that weekend? You just have to smile and laugh about it and just say, hey, bad things are going to happen. You might as well anticipate it, because if you don't, the change is going to suck.
If I remember right, I think you jumped on a train or a bus and, had to carry your luggage through town, walked miles, like,
Yeah, it was
it
either
wasn't an
the
easy road back.
Yeah, it was either like a Amtrak or maybe a Greyhound or something like that. But imagine driving 13 hours in a car with an individual, you're comfortable, and then 13 hours back home, you're in a bus, a Greyhound bus, which is different experience than being in a nice cozy car.
Yeah, yeah. I felt so bad for you that time, and there's nothing I could do to help, but what did you do? You you had the thick skin, and you went out, looked at your list, made more calls, and invited more people to more meetings.
Yeah, that was
You know?
pretty much it right there. Uh,
Yeah, how often in your business today are they gonna drop you off and leave you abandoned 13 hours away? Like, it's all downhill as far as, effort goes from here.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. And I learned from there. Definitely learned that when bad things happen, the one thing that you can always control, no matter what, is your attitude. And I think bad things will happen to everybody at some time or another. But the number one thing we could control is uh, how we react to that situation, and reacting positively accordingly. Well.
Yeah, and everybody wants greatness. They all have this dream, but very few are willing to put in the struggle to get to the victory, right? Dream, struggle, victory. I think one of my favorite quotes of all time is, are you willing to do what others won't so you can have what others can't? Because you can't have the goal without going through the struggle.
Sure.
That's not how the formula works for success. That's not how life works. There might be that 0.01% that wins a lottery ticket, right? But are you willing to bet your life, your goals, and your dreams on 0.01%? Or are you going to control it and own it yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. We just talked about that on our daily post. The difference between a high producing sales representative like yourself, and then maybe a low producing sales rep, is taking that full responsibility, that accountability, that the buck stops here mentality, and just picking it up and just going forward. Especially after you get some failures thrown your way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, which are guaranteed to happen.
Yeah,
You
right,
know,
right, right. It's like
it's
it's
part of
like
the process.
change, bro. It's like change.
Yeah.
So many people hate change. Well, let's just look at change. It's inevitable. We're always changing. We're not going to be the same person in 1 year from now, no matter how much we hate change. But it's like what Lori Woodward said: change is inevitable, but growth is optional. So it's like you might as well anticipate change. It's gonna happen, and when it happens, you better adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's once again what I love about life is everybody is going through their different processes and changes, and you can watch how each person pivots and handles them, right? You, my cousin, one of my best friends, this is one of the things that I admire most about you than I think just about anybody out there. You've gone through different things in your life, you went through change, and then you decided, hey, this is the goal that I want, and I'm going to do everything in my power to go get it. And here we are on a podcast like a decade later. It's crazy.
I know, right, dude? Like that's awesome. I think the slide edge effect is having a very big compounding effect. And your dad and I, we talk about it a lot, and I look up to your dad all the time.
He's an
Hey,
art guy.
Nick, I have a question. I want to pivot for a second. Let's say somebody is new at sales, or let's say they are new. They just started a business. They're a new entrepreneur, and they have to start selling a product or a service, but they're kind of new to the industry. They've never really done these types of activities before. What kind of advice would you give a new person who's selling a service or a product kind of for the first time? Like they hear our conversation, they understand, yes, it's lucrative, you can make tons of money, a lot of great money, but let's say we're talking to a newbie. What are we telling them to, for their first sales job?
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, tough skin, you gotta start there. Just expect it to not go great and expect to handle that and then rebound with the same level of energy every single day and every single time you come back to doing your job, making those calls, getting on the meetings. Absolutely step number one foundation. Second is every sales job, every industry, everything that you do is a little bit different, a little unique, but there are core foundations that you can follow to work towards being successful. But look at somebody who's in your field now. What are they doing? Do they have a different process? Do they treat people a different way? Just try to emulate them, right? And then the fastest way you're going to get to your specific goal is through repetition, just like going to the gym. I picked up golf recently, right? First time I played golf, absolutely terrible. Like, I think shot 118, 120. I don't know. It's atrocious. Uh, but the only way to fix that slice and that driver is to hit those golf balls over and over and over and over and over again. That same principle applies to sales and everything else you do. Pick up the phone, make those calls over and over and over again. Um,
Yeah, we were talking about it. We were talking about as sales reps, we might see somebody outside working construction and they're working in the hot sun, doing whatever they got to do. But for us, our working in the hot sun is picking up the phone, getting that spreadsheet out, and making call after call after call. Hopefully, we hit 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 calls that day.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as an individual, choose what that number is for you. If
Oh,
after
that's a good point.
40
Yeah.
calls, you're just done and your brain can't handle it anymore, do your 40 every day. Don't try to be like that guy at the gym who goes for 3 hours and expects gains the next day again, right? Like don't do 300 today and then nothing for the next 2 weeks. It's all about the slight edge, consistency. Do your 40 every single day, 60 every single day, whatever that attainable number is that you can do every single day, whether you have meetings or no meetings or doctor appointments, that's your number. Do that every day.
Sure, sure. It's kind of better to do maybe 30, 40 calls a day every day for 5 days than maybe the first day do 75, second day do 50, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're just burnt out because you feel like you've done so many phone calls.
Yeah, and it's just more mentally exhausting when you get to, week number 2 and you're like, "Oh, shoot, I have to do 75 calls again." You're dreading it already. But when you know it's 40, you do 20 by noon and then you do 20 by 4, like you just break it down. Whatever your goal is, break it down. And if it's too big, break it down. Look at it by hour.
Sure, sure. Okay, Nick. Someone's they're taking that advice. They're making calls. Now they're starting to get traction. They can't believe it. People are actually saying that they're somewhat interested in what they're selling. How do you stand out from other salespeople? Like, what are things that you've noticed about yourself and your own style that kind of makes you stand out from other competitors, but then from other like sales representatives?
My entire thought process is not how am I going to sell my product? My thought process is if I was them, what would be important and what would I care about to move forward to the next step? What do I need to hear to move forward to the next step? How do I need to feel to move forward to the next step? It's not about pitching your product and saying we do X, competitor does this worse. We do this, the competitor does it, however differently. It's not specifically about diving into the differentiators or the pricing, etc. It's all about understanding how the prospect feels when you're talking to them. Do they feel like you're trying to sell them, or do they feel like you're trying to solve their problem? So
Mm,
earlier I mentioned when I get on the phone, I got 5 minutes to say, hey, I'm Nick DeLorie. Here's what I do, blah, 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 blah. Then from there, the rest of the call, if so, I record all my calls and I do on average about 30 to 40% of the talking, and the customer is doing 60% of the talking. And that's because I can't provide value to them if I don't understand their problem. So when you're on the call, it's all about the customer, what the problem is, and then how you are going to solve it, whether that's through your product or not your product. And it may be your product is not the fit every single time. But if you do a good job in your discovery and understanding the person's thought process and their pain points, then you can tie in and weave in your value and your proposition.
That's so important to know. And it reminds me immediately of like asking more open-ended questions. You know, that who, what, when, where, when, how, versus asking them closed-ended questions. Like, for instance, I'm focused on Sky Media Ventures. Yes, we do media, but we also do marketing, and we understood that if we ask questions like, "Hey, are you looking for marketing? Is this an area where we could help you in?" You know, they would usually just say no and just, you know, shut up, and then that was it. You know, versus the approach that you're saying, "Hey, you know, what has happened these last 6 months that are causing you to now look in this direction? You know, how do you guys currently get customers now? You know, what are your guys' goals in the next quarter? You know, how or where do you feel like you guys could do better?" So I really like that approach of speaking less and listening more, especially about the customer situation, so you can use your service as a tool to solve that problem. And I think asking a lot of open-ended questions, like you said, really help out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I think my favorite thing is also keeping the customer front of mind. Like the moment they feel like you're a sleazy sales rep, it's immediate pushback and they want nothing to do with you or your product.
Sure.
So it's all about doing what's best with them for them. So every time I close a deal, me and the customer, we're best friends. Like we
Right.
have phone numbers, maybe even on social media, and we'll share a laugh here and there about some TikToker, something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same too. That's also another sign that we get at Sky Media Ventures. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, we feel like family," or you know, "We feel like we made a very fantastic decision," and that's how you know that they don't look at you as a sales rep, even though we say the words on this show, sales rep. You know, some of the clients, your really great clients, they don't think of you as a sales rep. They think of you as like a business colleague, friend, or partner. You know, in some type of area like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be a consultant always for your customers. And, I think sales reps may get a bad rep or looked down upon. And that's probably because, if I was to guess, like 90% are just bad at their job. Just like anything in life, whether you're an accountant, a mechanic, or whatever it is, usually it's 90, at minimum 80% of people that just aren't good at their job. Another 10% do okay. And it's really the top 5% that are pulling the majority of the weight in the company. And you see that on sales boards, every company you go to.
Yeah, it's like fishing, but you know, you and I, we like to go fishing a lot, and you know, if you fish consistently, you know, you're bringing in, you know, fish, little deals here and there, and then once in a while, you know, you'll catch 170-pound silver tarpon, you know, which we caught this year,
Favorite
which
days.
was, you know, which
Yep.
was pretty cool. How are landing those type of deals? You know, the big, ginormous deals versus the small ones. What kind of feeling? What kind of experience do you get from landing those type of um, eight, nine, or seven, eight figure deals?
Yeah. So I guess back to like the fishing analogy, right? Everybody wants to catch a massive tarpon. Like that was on yours and my bucket list for since we started fishing, I don't know, 8 years
Sure.
ago.
Right.
We would go out every weekend that we were together, spend hours catching bait, mullet, um, shrimp, whatever it might be. And we're just at the docks, off the beaches, on the boats, hours and hours and hours and hours. Might have hooked onto one, but never landed one.
Hmm.
And we fished a lot. So I think of landing large enterprise clients kind of similar to that. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody's casting their line. Everybody's trying to prep for it and hoping that they get lucky. What changed when we actually caught that tarpon is one thing. There's only one thing that we changed that allowed us to catch the fish that was on our bucket list for almost a decade, right? And that one thing is we paid for a charter to teach us what he knew. He was an expert in the field, and he took us out there, and we landed like 4 tarpon by noon.
Right.
Like,
We literally paid a guy, a mentor in his field, which his expertise was catching 170-pound tarpon. We paid a little extra to learn his system, and then we became successful and accomplished that 9-year goal. That's crazy, dude. I didn't think of it like that. Yeah, that was the one thing we did differently in 9 years was we decided to find someone who was an expert and just paid them, and then they taught us, and then we had now we could say we're tarpon catchers, silver
yeah.
king catchers.
We even used the same bait. We had a similar boat. We had similar rods. Uh, fished the exact same place many, many, many times. Never landed a tarpon. Got out with this guy in 4 hours. So crazy what knowledge can do and knowledge applied correctly. And a few little tweaks here and there, and all of a sudden you're not only hooking the tarpon, but you're landing them. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, that was also a fantastic experience, dude. Catching that giant
That's so
monster
cool.
with you. Yeah, and we found a mentor. That's cool. A teacher. Hey Nick, we're gonna wrap up soon, but before we get off, I wanted to ask you, what are some book recommendations other than The Slight Edge? Because we've talked so much about Olson's book. Hopefully, we can have him here on the podcast. He does live in South Florida, so we're kind of putting our feelers out. But other than The Slight Edge, what are some other books that maybe had a profound effect on your thinking that maybe the audience should, take a look at, dive into?
I think one of the most underrated books is The Magic of Thinking Big. Everybody has these big, audacious goals. One day I want to be rich. One day I want a mansion. One day I want a boat. One day I want to, whatever it might be, right? But nobody has a specific goal in mind that they've tailored in other than this like generic, I want to be rich. Well, why do you want to be rich, Nate? Why do you want this type of lifestyle? Why do you want money? Why do you want this time freedom? Well, until you can narrow down exactly what you want out of life, how are you going to have the motivation to get up and make those phone calls every single day for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? How are you going to face rejection and come back and go work towards harder to hitting that goal that you just missed? Um, so I think the number one key to hitting your specific goals and dreams is understanding what they are and why they are. So Magic of Thinking Big, that's going to be up there for me for sure. I don't hear anybody talk about it either, but it's so core and so foundational to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So that's going to be book number 2 outside of the edge. And maybe this is a cop out answer, but it's definitely going to be the Bible. The Bible, you have your goals, you know how to get there, but without the Bible, how are you living like a life full of character, a life that's worth living and meaning something along the way? So like you become super successful, you become that multimillionaire, but what's it mean if you're empty on the inside?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really important. I'm glad you said that last one. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that's fantastic, Nick. Hey, Nick. Any other last thoughts before we wrap up? We really appreciate your time here on the Sky Media Ventures podcast. One thing that we really look for is people who have achieved great things in an area, especially like sales and business. And we just decided to reach out to you, Nick, because you've accomplished the results, and your future is so bright. You should go to a glasses store and buy a pair of glasses because it's that bright. Which a corny joke. But Nick, any final thoughts before signing off?
No, I think just to recap everything that we said in a nutshell here is find out what your goals are. Make it very specific. You want a mansion, where? What color? How many rooms? You want a sports car? What's that sports car look like? What color is it? How do you feel when you're inside of it? Flooring down the pedal, right? And taking those sharp turns, going 70 miles an hour. Visualize where you want to be and then go out there and do it. It's just like Shia LaBeouf says, just do it every single day. Just, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. That's my favorite thing about success too. It's like it is not crazy. It's not crazy at all. Like people aren't lucky. They're just doing a little bit of the right things every single day. And everybody can do a little bit of the right things every single day, and you'll be shocked where you are in half a decade.
Sure, sure.
Like
Now,
5 years isn't that long.
yeah, yeah. I think we overestimate what we could do in like 2, 3 months and underestimate what we could do in like 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And people have such a massive fear of failure that I don't quite understand, except for maybe it's an ego issue. But failure is not a bad thing. You are closer to your goal than before you started. So it's okay to fail. That's, I guess, the number one thing I could say to people. It's okay to fail. Just get up and keep on going.
Sure, sure. Don't quit when you hit those failures. Nick, I personally appreciate our relationship. We appreciate you coming on to the Sky Media Ventures podcast and all the wisdom and insight you have given us. So we appreciate it. Thank you, bud.
Yeah, man. Pleasure being here, and glad I could help out if I could in any sort of way.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Well, everybody, this concludes episode 3 of the Sky Media Ventures podcast with our guest, Nick DeLorie. Going to be coming out soon. Once again, Sky Media Ventures, we're a media and marketing company nationwide, and we are posting weekly podcast videos with talented people, musicians, rappers, artists, experts in their field. So look forward to our future episodes, and don't ever forget, sky's the limit. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.